I call the honourable member Stephen Browning. It's not a race, Mr. King. Stephen Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I note in this bill, in the vote for primary industries, that there seems to be very little extra for biosecurity. And yet consistently we have new incursions into New Zealand of pests that are costing us hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'll point out that through these recent years, and there will be pests that we all recognise by name: western flower thrips, guava moth, national party, varroa mite, lettuce aphids, tomato and potato psyllid. It's cost a huge amount to our horticultural industry already. The header beetle that the government gave up on eradicating, varroa that it gave up on eradicating. Greens have a different vision. This budget has no vision for primary industries that we can see in there at all. There's cost cutting all over the place, minimal increases in any area at all. We would have a smart green agriculture and we'd be preserving a future for our farming families. We'd be using organics more and more. We'd be concerned about climate change in a real way and having resilience in our farming systems, diverse farming systems. So biosecurity is integral to that. It's integral to even agriculture and horticulture as we see it right today in this country. The header beetle that the government gave up on in 2010 is expected to cost New Zealand $100 million over 20 years. The cost of eradication, yes, it was going to be expensive, $200 million over 4 years, but there is that was where they came to their conclusion, because they let it in the first place and then didn't nip it in the bud. Painted apple moth cost them $65 million, and suppose that was a bit of a fright. Varroa, $20 million, then aborted. And then other ones that have been given up on: Dutch elm disease, potato spindle tuberviroid, a leaf miner and eucalyptus, and the lettuce aphids, as I mentioned before. Fruit fly incursions being jumped on quite quickly. However, what are they doing getting in the first place? The systems are letting us down in terms of what is getting in. I had a look to see where can I see the increase in figures for border control, and I couldn't find any. There's a limit in increase, a very limited increase in any money around biosecurity, and when you put it into real terms, there's no real increase at all. Fruit fly, if it really got going, would cost $800 million in the first year in the Bay of Plenty. But something else I want to put to you, Mr. Speaker, is around foot and mouth that would cost $8 billion in the first year if it got into here. Now, this time last year, the Auditor General said, we are not foot and mouth disease ready, we're not prepared. And then on April Fool's Day this year, government comes out, yes, April Fool's Day, April the 1st, 2014, MPI said, we reckon we're ready. But I don't believe the country is ready, because at the same time they've let Tuleria, a particular strain of Tuleria, Orientalis Ikeda, go loose. And even today in our newsroom we hear that the big cattle movement is about to be undertaken, and they're saying, look, farmers, try and make sure you don't share it around or whatever. This should have been nipped in the bud, and could have been nipped in the bud if they used the systems I've got, Nate, and proved that we're foot and mouth ready. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This is just to advise the House that we have a split call. I call